We are a week closer to the season. We are at one more Mailbag Monday. Okay, that is horrible. That is the worst start of all time, and we are live.
What are you doing?
We're live,
right now.
brother.
You were better when we were recorded.
Guess what? The show's only going to get better.
We'll do it live.
It's going to get better starting now on CHGO Blackhawks.
We usually cut this part.
Good Lord. Happy Monday. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. I am broadcasting professional Jay Zawaski. Next to me is another broadcasting professional, Mario Tirabassi, and Sean Anderson, another broadcasting professional. Running the show today. We're glad you're with us. Hope you're enjoying this lovely Chicago Monday. And it's Mailbag Monday. We're going to get to all your questions coming up here in a little bit. We've got a little bit of some Hawks odds and ends we want to get to. Before we get to the mailbag. And before even that, we've got to tell you about our brand new Die Hard offer. This is for the football season and celebration. We're introducing the tailgate tier. So limited time offer, $89.99 gets you a year Die Hard membership and includes a free t-shirt and 2 tickets to the Bears tailgate of your choice. So any of the Bears home games, you bring yourself, you bring a friend, that is included in that tailgate tier, $89.99. If you're not local or you're not into Bears tailgates, that's fine. We've got an intro offer going for you as well, $59 for the year at ALLCITY.com. Also includes the free t-shirt. So here's what you do. Go to ALLCITY.com/join. All the information is right there. And if you're an existing member, by the way,
this is the good part,
and you want to upgrade to that tailgate tier, you can certainly do that and get those free, not free, but those additional tailgate tickets with that upgraded package. So jump on it, allchgo.com/join for all the information. But we're here, man. Football season is right around the corner.
And with new football season means new football merch.
Yeah,
as you see
the merch
on our
is
screen
sweet.
Here.
Now I need to ask, I guess Sean is the youngest of the three of us.
Yes.
Am I too old to pull off the CHGO football with the big grizzly bear design?
The real bear?
Yeah, it's a real bear.
Is that the bear that charged Bowie?
I think
it
is.
Alaska?
Yes. You can still see the tranquilizer dart in its neck from when they had to slow it down.
No, you could pull that off.
I can?
I don't think so, especially if you kind of fake it as like, oh, I own this in the 90s. You know,
okay.
Maybe
Just
you dug
wash
this out
it
of
a
your
few times.
closet.
I may have actually owned it in the 90s.
Let it fade down. Listen, I mean, there are people that wear T-shirts from like Bass Pro Shop and stuff that are the similar vibe.
Have never fished.
And yeah, so I mean, I think you could definitely pull that off and just, say, oh, I like bears, I like wildlife, and then be also, Bears football. It's twofold.
I like all bears, all things bear. I'm here for.
What I like is the big brain on our merch department to have Chicagoland Bears on there because soon enough, Chicagoland Football Club, yes, because soon enough it may not be Chicago proper anymore.
Well, there's a lot of those teams. It's fine that don't play in the city.
Yeah, the Arlington
for
Cowboys,
which they're named.
Yeah.
Look at that, Arlington.
Yeah.
Bears Cowboys handshake emoji.
They play each other this year, and you can come to our tailgate.
Yeah, see? Look at all ties together.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
See? I think we've come full circle from the cold open now.
Like
I think
I said.
we've
Yes.
got our professional
we'll never speak of the cold open
back
again.
out there.
Yeah, we can just delete that from YouTube, Sean. That's fine. We can do that. All right, before we get to the mailbag, we've been doing
Mike was muted.
You're right.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, we cut that out of the audio anyway, so you're good at least on that part.
Good. Well, if you missed it, too bad. We've got some stuff to get to today aside from the mailbag. We've been following this all season. TSN's Travis Yost puts together his talent tiers in the summer. Today he released the centers.
Tier lists are getting pretty popular. I wonder who started that.
Who invented that?
Yeah, me.
Of course.
The same people who bring you Mailbag Monday.
That's right. And it takes two to tango and other sayings like that. We invented it. So the talent tier centers, Tier 1, Avalanche, Stars, Oilers, Panthers, Lightning, Leafs, Knights.
Not gonna
Tier
argue
2,
there.
Kings, Wild, Devils, Rangers, Senators, Penguins. Tier 3, Sabres, Hurricanes, Blackhawks,
Hey.
Islanders, Blues, Canucks, Caps, Jets, Mammoth. So he's got the Hawks in Tier 3, and here's what he has to say. Chicago knows it's a one-man band at center right now with superstar Connor Bedard, but there is real hope the 21-year-old Frank Nazar can effectively man a second line as soon as this year. How confident are the Hawks? Despite having played just 56 games, the Blackhawks extended him on a 7-year deal last week. If Nazar's development takes another step forward, this center group in Chicago has considerable upside potential. And remember, Yost is doing this based on NHL roster. So he's not looking at up-and-coming prospects. He's not thinking about Sasha Boisvert. He's not thinking about anybody like that. He's looking at who is on the roster today, and he's got the Hawks in the third tier with Bedard and Nazar, Jason Dickinson. Maybe you have Ryan Donato there. To be established, but...
Maybe Lucas Reichel?
Yeah.
I wonder if he had this written down last week, and then the Nazar extension comes out, and maybe he says, the team just invested in this guy.
Yeah.
Maybe that added to it. Who knows? But I think even before the extension for Frank Nazar, I think you could look at him and say, I don't think the money and the extension changes any of the outlook of like what he could be. I think there already was proof on the ice of there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of runway to go to find out what he is at the NHL level, and you're betting on the extension that the Blackhawks made paying off dividends. So yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of potential there for Bedard and Nazar if they both pan out as centers to be a really good 1-2 punch down the middle, especially when you talk about the way that they play. I think Bedard, you have that offensive elite upside, and Nazar has that as well, but also we've seen a commitment to defense, an ability to play on the penalty kill, like a little bit more multi-tooled than Bedard is. But I would say the tools that stand out for Bedard stand out higher than Nazar.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm ready to say I think Nazar on his own is going to be an elite player. I think he will be one of the better second-line centers in hockey. But when I think of elite player, that's a guy that I could peg as my number one center and not have any thoughts or worries about that at all. I don't think Nazar will get to that point. I would love to be wrong. I would love to see Frank Nazar be another Connor Bedard level talent. Again, like you mentioned, different skill sets, of course. But if you got two guys you can call a number one, and that's how I would define elite, then you're starting to talk about championship contention.
Right.
And I don't know if Nazar will ever get to that point, but I think elite 2C to above average number 1C, I can live with that. And I think when you've got Bedard there, it allows that a little bit of flexibility where Nazar doesn't have to necessarily be a point per game perennial all-star stud. He can just be a really good player at the 2C spot. And I see that as that what he's is. I see him kind of ending up there versus another megastar on the Blackhawks.
Yeah, I mean, it's unlikely you're going to get a scenario like in Edmonton where you have McDavid and Draisaitl and they're both centers. And it's just like, well, okay, that's the 1-2 punch in the league that you can't match down the middle. But I think to have a team that is going to get back to contention, you have to have your top two centers be reliable in multiple ways. And I think with Bedard, this season we'll learn a lot about this team. Yeah, and we're going to learn a lot about Bedard going into this season. This will be year 3. There's really no more excuses of he has to learn the league. Like, this is year 3. Like, you've got 149 games or whatever it is in the NHL. Like, you have this elite level talent. Like, you should be able to kind of start figuring out what does and does not work at the league level this year. With Nazar, like, he's a little bit behind as far as NHL experience, but he's ahead in a little bit more of that maturity of the game because he's a year older. So I think you're going to learn a lot about those guys. And one of the things that I think we'll need to learn if those guys are the 1-2 is how they'll hold up over an 82-game season, because how many elite level Stanley Cup contenders have had two smaller centers be your number one and number two guys. Now, far be it from me to say guys are too small to play in the NHL, but there is something to say about if you have Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar matching up against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl or Nathan McKinnon, those guys that have more size, more power, more speed, how are you going to be able to match up with those guys one-to-one?
Deep Harris wants you guys to define elite.
To me, an elite player is Hall of Fame consideration, Hall of Fame conversation. Like one of the best players in the league. Like here's an easy way to do it. Who is elite on the Stanley Cup champion teams? Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Marian Hossa, Duncan Keith. Those are the 4 elite players that I see as part of the dynasty.
I have a different. I'd say if you are considered in your prime a top 20 player at your position, you're in an elite class.
I think
because there's a lot of guys that can be. There's a lot of guys that have elite level talent, but then there's probably more of an upper echelon where you say this is a game changing like McDavid is a whatever superlative you want to have that means above elite. I would put him there. But I'd say Braden Point's an elite player, and Jack Eichel's an elite center. Like I think it can be a little wider than that. And Jack Hughes, I would say, is elite level talent.
Pushing back on like the 2010, 13, 15 teams, I think part of the reason they won too was Crow was at his peak in his career. Maybe it wasn't a Hall of Fame career, but I think he had a Hall of Fame peak.
My definition of elite is not Corey Crawford.
That's fair.
I think Corey Crawford was very good. I think he was an all-star. I think he was highly underrated. But when I think of elite goalies that I've seen play for the Blackhawks in my lifetime, it's Eddie Belfour.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just it. That's how I define it. So when I say I don't think Frank Nazar is going to be elite, I save that for a handful of people, and that's just my definition. Mm-hmm. And I think yours is valid too, but the guys you named, you said who'd you say?
Eichel, Point, Jack Hughes.
So all those guys.
Those guys I wouldn't say are the highest echelon of elite. Like if we're talking about tiers again with this list, like if 1A is McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, Matthews, like guys like that, then there's a 1B where there's Barkov and there's Eichel and then there's 1C where there's like Jack Hughes.
But I think you would have Taves and Kane in that A tier, and I think Hossa would be in that B tier. Keith would be in the A tier for defensemen.
Positionally, sure, yeah.
Yeah, so but I think like if you put Jack Hughes or Jack Eichel or any of those guys on those Hawks teams, and I was ranking guys, I would say Taves, Kane, Eichel, Hossa, because I think he is elite. I think Jack Hughes is elite. Mm-hmm. So it's all how people define it. I think if we want to make it if we want to define it, I think for a forward, you're a point per game guy. I think that is kind of where you get to if you want to start having a conversation about elite. You got to be a point per game producer at least.
Yeah, that or you got to be close to that. Maybe you're a defensive stalwart or something like that, where you impact the game differently. But I think there's Lord Hossa says like generational franchise elite. Sounds a lot like the NHL video game.
I could live with that. Yeah,
franchise
that's
elite,
fair.
top 6.
Yeah, so generational is what you're talking about. Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon.
Yeah,
sure. And then below that is the next tier. So, so I would say if I'm going to use that model, Kane is generational, Taves and Keith are generational, Hossa's franchise, Seabrook is franchise.
Sure.
And then, Patrick Sharp is elite.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Crawford, I guess, with that definition would be elite. So it's all how we want to define it. But look, I think Nazar has the potential to be a point per game two-way center? Maybe, but I would not bet on that. I would think probably more in the mid 50s to high 60 point range. A really nice complementary, well-rounded player that just makes the team that much better.
Yeah, I mean, you need guys like him to
100%.
Have sustained success and be able to have depth around your lineup.
And I'm being clear.
If you get to a point where Anton Frondel becomes your number 2 center, but you still believe Frank Nazar is a center and you line him up that way, if he's your 3 center, then you're talking about a guy. Then you're talking about an embarrassment of riches at that point, because you'd imagine, well, Frank Nazar would be a 2 center on most other teams.
Right.
If he's 3, things are going very well down the middle.
Pete.
One name you didn't bring up in generational, Barkov. Is he generational? I think that he fits in that Taze mode.
He's below.
He's above a point per game.
Yeah.
At least, since
I mean,
18,
he is the most underrated player in hockey. We hear it every year.
Yeah, every year we hear about it.
Since 19 to 25, 533 points in 437 games.
He might be one of the most unassuming guys that you'd put in that list, because Selke winner, captain, 2-time Cup champion, like you said, point per game, over point per game in his career. Like, the guy is just a horse and has been his entire career for the Panthers. I think if his early years weren't with like the under the spotlight Panthers teams, I think league wide he'd be more well known. But the last few seasons has been a big boom for him and notoriety and accolades.
All right, got to hit the break zone for the first time. Do us a favor, if you've not done it yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the show. We'll be back in 2 minutes with a little bit more Hawks news and notes, then we'll tear right into the mailbag. Coming up next on CHGO Blackhawks. I know a thing or two about Chicago restaurants, and I know when I walk into a Chicago restaurant and I see that they've got RC Cola available, you're in the right place. RC Cola is not a soft drink. It's damn good cola. It's the original cola that doesn't fold under pressure. RC is an OG cola in a world of spineless soft drinks. No trends, no gimmicks, no glow up. RC has not changed its stripes since 1905 because it didn't need to. You've seen the memes of the Chicago pizza and the RC Cola hand in hand. You can get it on a t-shirt. It is, to me, the clear sign of a place that knows what it's doing. They don't wimp out. They give you the real thing. RC Cola tastes like a punch in the thirst. Do yourself a favor. Grab some RC at your local store. Stock up for all your end of summer parties, back to school celebrations, or just watching the game. RC is the move for whatever you're doing. RC Cola is not a soft drink. It's just damn good cola.
Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. They've been your friends in the Chicagoland area for over 50 years. What RC Cola is to cola, Four Seasons is to heating, air conditioning,
Correct.
Plumbing, and electric. And don't be fooled by false fall. Summer is still here. It will probably be 95 degrees next week.
Yes.
But while you're enjoying this beautiful 70-degree weather, make sure your AC unit is ready to go for that second summer heat. Right now, you can save up to $4,000 on a new comfort system with Four Seasons. New AC units starting from $39 a month, and AC furnace combos starting at $57 a month. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. You can visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all of their special offers, excuse me, and money-saving coupons. Again, that's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com.
Combos. All right, welcome back. Make sure you hit that like button for us. The other little bit of Hawks news we have for you, don't know if I'd really call it news necessarily, but if you listen to this weekend's 32 Thoughts, they got into the Frank Nazar contract, and Elliot Friedman sort of speculated that the next order of business for the Hawks might be a contract for Spencer Knight to see if they can get him locked up. Didn't mention, I think, specifics in terms of money or anything like that, but something to keep an eye on as the season approaches here, a new contract for Spencer Knight.
Yeah, I mean, Knight, Nazar, and Bedard were all in that mix of like high-profile, elite, you might say, guys that were going to be RFAs next summer in need of extensions. And on the Blackhawks business side of things, be better for them to sign before the season starts, maybe before they start putting down some big numbers potentially. Yeah. On the player side, probably benefits them to, if they want bigger numbers, go into this season, put up some good stats, and then, you can ask for more money at that point. But I think what we saw with Nazar's deal is, and Ben Pope kind of wrote about this weekend following Frank Nazar's contract, is with Kyle Davidson, like, it seems like he's got a really good ability and buy-in from his own guys, for the most part, it seems, to, with the Donato deal, with Alex Vlasic's deal, and now with Frank Nazar's deal, he's got a good ability to talk with his own players and to be able to work with them, and make things work both for the player and for the organization. And I think we're seeing this kind of like buy-in, it seems, from some of these guys of like being able to have that core group kind of start coming together with reasonable deals, longer term extensions, buy into the rebuild, buy into the group that is building, that is going to be that next wave. And we could see that depending on how things go with what Knight signs for, what Bedard ends up signing for, and some other contracts moving forward with some of these guys, the Wyatt Kaiser deal, whenever it gets done.
It'll get done.
Yeah, not if, when.
Yeah.
But what that kind of looks like, I think you're starting to see, that buy-in, and I think with Knight, Davidson could approach him and say like, look, like we believe you're going to be the starter for the next, generation of Hawks hockey, and we believe in you. Here's a number that's higher than what you're making. It's not going to set the market in any ways, but it's more of this is what we believe you can do and can be for this term. And that's what I think that's what they did with Nazar. Is we're not going to give you $8 million, but we're going to give you what you deserve ahead of schedule.
You're going to feel secure. You're going to be comfortable. You're going to be good.
And that's where we see you being able to be.
But I mean, think though, the big jump for Nazar, you're going from under $1 million to $6.59 million.
Right.
That's a big jump. Whereas Knight is 4.5 right now. So if he jumps up to 6.5, maybe even 7, that's a big jump. But it's not such a like shock to the system jump for him. So I don't know. I'm wondering what it will take. And I think if they just say like, look, we see you as you, Connor, and Frank, and Vlasic as like faces of this franchise that. People are going to buy tickets to come and see you play, and they're going to we're going to see Spencer Knight jerseys in this. I mean, tell me, like, I'm sure people in the chat will respond to this. If you knew Spencer Knight was signed long term, would you buy a Spencer Knight jersey? I bet you'd see a lot of those move.
There were Spencer Knight jerseys sold in the UC, like within days of him being on the team. There were people buying Spencer Knight jerseys his Hawks debut,
right?
And it was a good investment because he went out and stopped 40+ shots and won the game. Like, there is definitely already a fan base buy-in to Spencer Knight based off of the potential of what he can be. So I don't think there's any reason to believe that there's not even an organizational buy-in.
Brian in the chat says his daughter already has one, a Spencer Knight jersey.
There you go.
Yeah,
I really think he has the opportunity and the ability to get to that point. Now, whether or not he does, that's going to be up to him. But I think all signs point to he can be that guy. He's just now getting the opportunity to be a starter and not be under the shadow of a guy like Sergei Bobrovsky like he was in Florida, where it was just like, especially after he kind of turned his career around the last few years, you weren't going to take the starter job from him in Florida until he retired.
Especially since they're clearly doing everything they can to win as many cups as they can in short order. They have no investment in the future. It's going to be...
Well, I mean, their trade of Spencer Knight brought them Seth Jones, who helped them win the Stanley Cup.
Right, exactly. And they're re-signing Marchand, and they're, there's no interest in them. They're not looking into 2032 like the Cubs are doing. They're looking at the here and now, as they should, because they're a real contender again. All right, before we get to the mailbag, let's get this $5 super chat from the Real Fitz. Nice. Thank you, Real Fitz. He says, I don't like the Kane-Taves comparison. Bedard and Nazar, it went away. I can't read that, Sean. I'm very old.
I don't like the Kane and Taves comparison. Bedard and Nazar will be their own thing. I look forward to the season.
Yeah, so the comparison with Kane and Taves was defining elite. I don't think I look at... I mean, you could see Patrick Kane comparisons from Connor Bedard, but if you watch those guys play, not terribly similar in the way they play. It's different, but that was more in saying, like, we're trying to find a definition for elite. Here's something that everyone watching us probably is familiar with. So that's kind of what we're going from with that. But I think there is a temptation to look at, okay, well, so this guy will fill this role, and this guy will fill this dynasty role, and this guy and this guy. It's not going to work that way. It just won't. It's a different team, different people, and there's only one host, my friend.
Oh, it's also like that tweet. Guy who's seen one movie and then sees another movie. Oh, it's giving Star Wars vibes.
Yeah, there you go. This music kind of sounds like the Beatles. Yes, it does. All right, let's get to the mailbag, Sean. No more delaying. Hit the like button while you're waiting for Sean to open the mailbag, by the way.
Well, I thought you tell me.
No, you just go, baby.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just make sure we do the Discords first.
I see
just do
Chuck
the
in the
Discords
chat,
first.
so we'll
There
do
you
Chuck
go.
Fee first.
All right, Chuck Fee says, mailbag, I struggle to think of any GMs who actively bottom out, built through the draft, then won a cup with the same team. Do we think Kyle Davidson will be the Hawks GM when they are ready to contend again? Before we answer that question, the salary cap is a relatively new. I know it's been around for 20 years, but like there's not a huge sample size to go off because rebuilds take 5 years, 7 years, 10 years sometimes, like ultimately get where you're trying to get.
Well, if you're doing them wrong.
So it's hard to I also struggle to see like a team that truly has torn it down like the Hawks did. There's a lot of teams that sort of tried, but then they always sort of mid-path try to cheat their way to the top again. I'm not sure if I've seen anyone do it quite the way the Hawks have done it. But I think the question is, will he be here long enough to see it through?
I think he will. I think you can go back to the show that we did about looking at, what could the 2030 Blackhawks look like. And we kind of said, like, if this team with these players that are making this new core of the group all take the steps that they're expected to, or the majority of them do, you're talking about a team that's getting back up the standings, back up the mountain of the NHL. And if they're doing it on the backs of Bedard and Nazar and Vlasic and Frondel and Boisvert and Levshinov and Renzel and all these guys, well, those are Davidson's guys. So you add in a trade piece or a free agent piece or something like that he's able to get done, and the team is going in that direction. What's to say that the guy that is built all of that needs to go? If things don't pan out, and if things happen to where the doom and gloomers of Blackhawks land say Davidson doesn't know what he's doing, all these guys are going to be busts, blah blah blah. If their horrible wishes become true, then yeah, you get rid of them and you go into it, and you have to go with somebody new, because when you run out of leash, you're done. That's it. Like,
yeah.
We've given if we get to a point where Blackhawks are not back into playoff contention, Danny Wirtz is just like, we've given you 7 years, Kyle, and we're still missing the playoffs, then you might get to a point where it's just like, yep, we might keep a lot of these guys around, but someone else might need to drive the ship.
I thought of tell me if I'm wrong, Joe Sakic with Colorado. Took over in 2013. That team was good. They had 112 points, finished first in the Central, 52, 22, and 8. And then after that is when things started going downhill for the Avs, because they did sort of do a full rebuild, and he has seen it through to Cup.
As GM?
Well, he's like hockey ops, director of hockey, but we know it's
he changed positionally.
That's when he changed, though. 2013 is when he went from like advisor to hockey ops director.
Sure.
So like when he became, I know it's a different title, but he basically became Kyle Davidson in that role, in that time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you can look at it that way, but I think too, like, that would have been, who would you say then they would have been building through the draft with? Because wouldn't Rantanen would have been a pick and McCarr would have been a pick, but was McKinnon and Landeskog would have already been there pre.
McKinnon was
Sakic,
18.
right?
It was but Sakic was there when they drafted him.
Okay.
Just in a different role.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Davidson was in a different role when they drafted, Ethan Del Mastro and Drew Comezzo and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, in the, as you were saying, with the hard salary cap, in the last 20 years, has there been a team that's completely torn things down, drafted their way back to contention? No, because at least in my mind, I wouldn't say that there is one, because either those early teams that got back around, like the Hawks, they didn't in a hard cap rebuild and everything.
Exactly.
Like those guys were picked. And Taze was the 06 draft, Kane was the 07, but those were like those last pieces that got put together. The Penguins, when they got Crosby, it was like they also got Fleury and Malkin pre-hard salary cap. And those teams, they went different directions of free agency and trades and building that way. So, yeah, I mean, I can't say that no team has truly been built through the draft.
We got to take a break real quick.
Yeah.
I did want to look up the 2012-2013 Colorado Avalanche. I think you're pronouncing his name wrong. He was Joe Sacco, and he was the coach from 2012
No, it's
to
a different
2013.
guy.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
sure.
Joe
Joe Sacco and
Sacco's
Joe
a different-
Sakic. Very different.
Joe
With the
Sacco's a
Colorado
different
Avalanche?
coach.
Correct. And by the way, Sakic took over.
Oh, man.
Sakic took over as the man in charge of the Avalanche in May of 2013. They drafted McKinnon in June of 2013. So
Okay.
McKinnon was technically a Joe Sakic draft pick. I think that's the closest thing we have right now.
Yeah.
Because he gets Makar, he gets Rantanen, as you mentioned. Those are like obviously the really big ones. But he got Bowen Byram, who they flipped.
Byram was part of a Cup team.
Right.
Give him his
Exactly.
credit there.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe that's the answer. All right, 2 more minutes of Break Zone, and we'll be back uninterrupted for the end of the show, going through the mailbag. Back in 2 on CHGO Blackhawks. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers now get $200 in bonus bets when they bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code CHGO365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and get $200 in bonus bets. That's more than last time if your bet wins or loses. And with the football early payout offer, that's pro or college, with Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app, use code CHGO365. When you do, you will get $200 in bonus bets when you deposit 10 and place a bet for 5 with that code CHGO365. That's if your bet wins or loses. Those bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Remember, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus if you or somebody you know has a gambling problem. Crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER in-app only.
And if you like wagering on sports, you might like to also see them live in person. Game Time is your outlet to get you into a seat for a game or for a concert or a theater event or a comedy show. Whatever it is you want to get tickets to, Game Time makes it faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch or puck drop or the overture, whatever they do in theater. And they have killer last-minute deals, the view from your seat function, and their lowest price guarantee, which means if you go on another site, I don't know why you would, but if you did, and you found the same ticket for the same seat at a better price, you can bring that to Game Time, and they will credit you 110% of the difference. That's how much they care about getting you the best deal through them. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use the code CHGO, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Again, download Game Time, create an account, use the code CHGO, $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed with Game Time.
All right, we are back with Mailbag Monday. If you've not done it yet, please hit that like button for us and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page as well. And if you're listening on the podcast, follow, subscribe, whatever you prefer on your favorite app. But a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, that goes a long way. It takes you 30 seconds, but it helps us out big time. So please, if you can do that for us, we'd appreciate that. All right, back to the mailbag, Sean. Let's see what we got. This one from JX Dirty says, with the average NHL head coach tenure being roughly 2 years, how quickly should Blackhawks systems expect to take root and make an impact? Seems like every second counts with a new head coach taking a team to the next level. Yeah, I mean, it should. I think the first couple weeks might look rough, but it should start looking normal pretty quickly. He's not reinventing the wheel. This is not stuff that these guys have never done before.
Yeah, I think being able to implement a system shouldn't take too long.
Right.
I will say, though, with the amount of young guys that they might have, maybe there will be some tweaks and some changes that might take a minute to kind of instill and become more muscle memory and not so much thinking the game. But you want to get to a point where those guys aren't thinking the game. But I would say, and you and Greg, went through Blashill's system a little bit more in depth. I would think that it's not a far cry from what they already were doing. And sometimes guys come in as coaches, and it's not necessarily the X's and O's schematic things that make a difference. It's more of the small details and the habit building that can make a difference.
Yeah.
And I think that more than anything, I think, is what they're going to try and do with most of the young players is and have the veterans, most of them should have those kinds of habits anyways. If they're not, then they're not going to be playing. But have that instilled of like, this is not necessarily this is the system, but this is the style. This is the expectation of when you go into a board battle, when you go into a puck battle, when you go to the front of the net, when we get into the offensive zone, when we're playing defense. This is the expectation that we have of how you would approach different situations, not necessarily all based on this is the spot you need to be in,
right?
So to say.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. Because I think that's commitment to it is almost going to be the bigger deal because he does preach so much of effort and winning puck battles and being strong along the boards. Like, yeah, the 2-1-2, the 1-2-2, whatever you want to, however you want to line up, and however you want to take shape. And what Greg and I did talk about too was it would change based on the line and who was on the ice a lot of the times. Mm-hmm. Like if Lucas Raymond was out there or Moritz Seider was out there, things would look different. So don't look so much about how they're lined up. It's more about, are they all to a man playing that air quotes winning hockey that Blashill talks about? Like, are you seeing Connor Bedard stir it up behind the net and try to win a puck from somebody? Mm-hmm. Are you seeing him actively defend? Are you seeing Lucas Reichel attack the middle of the ice more and not stay so much on the perimeter? And when he is on the boards, is he winning? Is he losing those pucks? That sort of stuff. How are they managing the puck? Those are the sort of things to look for that he's going to, at least based on what he says, that Blashill's really going to have his attention towards. So yeah. I would look more towards that than like, okay, look at them moving in motion like the Flying V in the Mighty Ducks movies.
Right, yeah.
It'll be, are they committed to the system? And I think, when you look at around that room, you've got a lot of guys who are competitors, a lot of guys that want to be great. So I think they're going to get a message from a guy who really knows what he's doing, is confident in his message. And look, they can look at Luke Richardson and say, this guy's never done this before. He doesn't know what he's talking about. They can look at Andrew Sorensen and say, this guy's an AHL coach. What's he doing? Jeff Blashill is coached a long time in the NHL as a head coach, then went and worked with the best coach in league in Tampa for 3 years. If the Hawks roll their eyes at this guy, then I think it's a personnel problem, not so much a coaching issue. Jeff Blashill is a perfectly fine NHL head coach. He's not Scotty Bowman, but I think the days of that was a coaching loss are over. I hope.
I would hope. Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, when you have a group that is, bought in and they're playing the game, quote unquote, playing the game the right way, then I think you're going to, as you watch this team play, there are going to be fewer and far between instances where you're like, what are they even doing out there? Because there were games in the last 2 seasons,
yes,
where under Richardson, under Sorensen at times, it's just like, what are they doing? We would say that watching the game up in the press box, here in the office, like, and I think the less you have that, obviously the better. But I think with Blashill, I think it's and the group that they're going to have, I think you're going to get to a point where early in the season you might have a couple of those moments.
Yeah,
but I
hiccups.
think as the group gets more, used to each other, gets back into the system, gets back into the swing of things, then those systematic ways that they playing, some of these guys playing with each other last year for the first time, you get a little bit of that like cohesiveness back to start the season. Things are going to start to, I would hope, mesh and blend well to where night in and night out, you're not scratching your head about like, what is this style of hockey that we're watching?
Yeah. All right. Next up is Alex A. Swiss. Says, why do NHL players train with their own staff in the summer? How can it be that clubs don't exercise more control over their training? In European football, for example, that would be unthinkable. I don't know. I think a lot of players in a lot of sports train in their own way in the off season. You see NBA players all kind of working out together, and I think it's baseball, like where they live, where they grew up, that sort of thing. So
Greg consistently tells me that Yasmani Grandal's over at the Fifth Third Bank
he
Arena
is
or whatever.
all the time. Yeah, with
Former White Sox, doesn't even play with the team anymore.
He's always got his pirate shorts on. That's how I know it's him.
Yeah, I think with the league being so internationally based, guys just, they go home for the summer. It's just, you can't send a team personnel guy with them to train with them. And I don't even think the CBA allows team personnel to be hands-on with training in the off season. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the CBA is changing, but I think that is part of, like, the language in there is that off-season training is not team directed.
I think it's a slippery slope too, because then it becomes an expectation that players are always in town,
Right,
always working
yeah.
out. And frankly, the most teams' training staffs are 4 or 5 guys, maybe,
or they're outside
Yeah.
agencies that
Right.
that they bring in. So,
I think it's, if anything, it's just like a numbers game more than anything. So I'm getting ripped a little bit for my Jeff Blashill optimism. I want to be clear about what I said. I said he's a perfectly acceptable head coach. If that's me being overly optimistic, I guess I'm being overly optimistic. I just think it's someone who's done this before and has a clue what to do and can't really be questioned for their inexperience.
Here, I
because
got
he
it
doesn't
here.
have it.
I got it here from the CBA.
All right.
CBA strictly limits team involvement in off-season training to prevent clubs from gaining an unfair competitive advantage. While the league has shortened official training camps starting next season, players must train and practice largely on their own. There are no mandatory off-season activities, no off-season on-ice coaching, no club-sponsored travel, no monitoring of players, and there are fines for violations of these rules. There can be informal captain skates. Professional training facilities can be provided for players. But again, it cannot be team-directed or team overseen. And we've talked with players.
That's players' rights right there.
Yeah, we've talked with players about, like, asking them the generic question: how much contact do you have with the team during the offseason? Blah blah blah.
Right.
Coaches will text, guys will text and be like, hey, like, how are things going? Blah. They'll check in to make sure that things are going well for them in the summer training and everything. But they're not the ones directing them and saying, okay, here, I'm going to email you your weekly training workout and all that. It's just not really how it goes.
Yeah. All right, Blackhawks 454 says, what is the over-under that Bedard signs for $9.8 million on September 8th?
I like that idea.
I don't think it's happening. I don't think he's signing this year. I think he's going to – if I was Connor Bedard, I would not sign a contract this summer.
Also, it's less of an over-under situation. It's more of a yes-no situation. It's more, it's probably 50-1 that he signs.
Yeah,
You're the odds
9.8
guy.
on
a
90.
yes-no.
I'm the degenerate.
A yes/no question
You have
phrase as
families.
over/under is more of a joke, but over. I say it happens.
Okay.
I want that. I now want that to be reality.
Maybe it's September 8th, 2026, and everyone's freaking out.
Oh, God, that would
there's
suck.
no contract and the season is
would
about to begin. No, I think that if I'm Connor Bedard, and I think I'll speak for if you look at it from his perspective, where he said, all right, look, my first 2 seasons maybe haven't been what I expected or what anyone expected of me, so I'm not going to sign an under. I'm going to bet on myself that I'm going to have a better third year and get more money at the end of it. I mean, he's going to make a ton of money. There's no doubt about it. Like, I think 9.8 would be best case scenario. I don't see him signing for anything under that. That almost feels like a team-friendly gesture of, I'll just sign for my jersey number like Sidney Crosby did.
Like Frank Nazar did.
Yeah, I don't see that as a...
Like Luis Robert Jr. did.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see anything less than that. So I think he's going to wait. He's going to bet on himself, and he'll sign next summer. But I don't expect it to be contentious or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a good bet for him to bet on himself.
Again, and yeah, it does not feel like if an extension can be found, it's when, not if.
Right. I will say this, too. I sort of mentioned it, the Wyatt Kaiser thing. Had a couple conversations this weekend that a lot of confidence it's going to get done. I think it's just a matter of time. And from what I'm kind of reading the tea leaves, it's just a matter of getting him here and signing it. So I wouldn't sweat the Wyatt Kaiser thing. I think I think it's pretty comfortable and it'll be done soon. So, all right. Scott, Iowa, 23, says Spencer Knight quickly became one of my favorites with 55 starts, 21 wins,
25
wins, a 3.12 goals against, and a 902 save percentage be possible. Thoughts? I'm hoping he adds at least 20 more wins to his career total. That would be very nice.
That
goals against feels high.
But
that's an inexperienced defense.
Yeah, I that feels incredibly attainable for Spencer Knight. Now, if he can exceed that, that'd be better. But I think if you're talking about a guy who's, got that stat line, I think that's attainable. I think that's acceptable for what this team probably will be in front of him. But I hope that's more or less of a baseline and that he can go up from there. Because I know his numbers, we had this conversation last week, but his numbers this season with the Blackhawks in those 15 games weren't stellar. It was a sub 900 save percentage. Yeah. But you look at, you kind of break down what he did in the goal save above expected and all that. He was playing above what an average goalie would have done with those Hawks. So I think that's what you're expecting again. So if a 902 save percentage is like what he can do, there's probably going to be some underlying games and performances where maybe he makes, 45 saves, but he faced 50 shots,
right?
And I think there's probably still going to be games like that for him, but no, I think that line for those markers, I think that's completely attainable for him.
With the Hawks last year, 15 games, he went 5-8 in those games. 3.18 goals against, 896 save percentage. I'd like to see that save percentage a little bit higher. I wouldn't worry so much, like Mario was saying, about the goals against average because there are going to be some games where it gets pelted, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But save percentage and then kind of the fancy metrics of goals saved above average will sort of tell you things. And by the way, there were a handful of games that he had as a Hawk that kind of got away from a little bit. There was a 5-goal game at Pittsburgh, 4 against Washington, 4 against Vegas. There were some not great games that skewed things for him.
Well, yeah, and those are going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, next up is Warm Bedards. Says, I was talking with my Hawks friend at work about Kaiser and not having signed a contract. He believes that there's disagreement on term and that Kaiser wants more term than what the Hawks are comfortable giving him. My gut hot take is that he will be moved around or during camp. Do you think he will eventually sign? What do you think is the holdup?
Well, you just kind of mentioned it.
Yeah, I think I should have pre-read those. I don't like to pre-read them. I like to react organically.
Yeah, I do too.
But I think it's going to get done. I don't. It feels like both sides are confident. So
yeah,
they really like him too, and they should.
I mean, they keep putting him in promotional stuff. You're not doing that for a guy that you're haggling on a contract.
I wouldn't think so. Not
usually.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to break the bank. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's a 7-year deal.
I am going to be very interested to see what it is. Is it short, like 2 years? Kind of like a let's see where you kind of fit into the puzzle here amongst the rest of the defensemen, or is it a longer? Maybe it's 3 or 4 or 5 year deal. Maybe not at a high dollar amount, but maybe it is more of a investment of we believe you're going to be in our top 6 for the next blah 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 years. I'm going to be fascinated to see what it comes out to.
Do you believe that he will be in the Hawks' top 6 for the next 5 years?
I think there's potentially could be. I think it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge for any of those guys. We don't know exactly what any of them are going to be. We have good feelings about some of them, but I think I would say right now for Kaiser, he has as best of a chance to be a top 6 guy for the Hawks in the next 5 years as Korchinski and Del Mastro and Allen do. I mean, even as much as Zawaski and Levshunov, because as much as those guys' potential that they've shown, the high ceilings that they probably have, they've still got to get to it. And Kaiser, maybe his ceiling isn't that high as some of those guys, but I think he does have some of those other parts of his game kind of already figured out, which comes with being a little bit older.
I think if I'm Kaiser, trying to put myself in his shoes. I think I might want a shorter term thing because he's a kid that is extremely confident. You can just tell by the way he carries himself, by the way he talks. He knows he's good. He knows he's going to be good. He believes he's going to be good anyway. And I think he might see, like, look, there might be a better opportunity for me somewhere else. He's a smart kid, too. Like, looking around the league and looking what the Hawks have in the system, if he feels like he's a top 4 guy and he's reading the tea leaves here, like, well, maybe I can't get to that role in Chicago with the defenseman coming up, maybe he wants a short term and then hit free agency again at a pretty young age and really max out if he puts together the performances he's confident he can. So we'll see. I think it's going to get done. I'm very confident it's going to get done. But you're right, Mario. It's going to be fascinating to see how they tackle this thing. Because even like from a Hawks perspective, do I want to tie up Wyatt Kaiser for 7 years? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Probably not.
Because I'm still just not sure he's a really good skater. He moves the puck pretty well, but I don't think he's an elite puck mover. He's not going to put up huge numbers. He's not going to win he's not going to win a Norris Trophy or be a total shutdown number 1 defenseman. So I don't know I think he's just a really solid all around defenseman, but I don't know where that puts him in the eyes of the franchise going forward. So we'll see. It's going to be, I think we're going to learn a lot based on what that contract looks like and what the Hawks think of him. All right, the captain Basil, or Basil if they like the herb, says, hey, y'all, I know this is hard because we are all biased, but in a 7-game series between the 16 Cubs and the 05 White Sox, who do you think comes out on top?
Sean, did you edit this screen grab?
No, what are you talking about? It's a very normal screenshot from our diehard.
There's some icons missing.
Some weird icons happening.
You could join our Discord. There's a sale. I'm going to flash the QR code. You could come and join. It's a very good time. I see nothing wrong with the screenshot.
I'm going to say something controversial as a Cub fan.
The Cubs?
I think the Sox win that series. That friggin' pitching staff was on a roll I've never seen before of just dealing. They had a great lineup, loaded with star power. I love the 16 Cubs. They will always hold a place in my heart. But that 05 Sox team was a thing, man. They had what the kids call the Riz back then. And they just had nothing to lose, and they just rolled through people, and it was very impressive. So I'm going to say the Sox win it. I also think if the Cubs and Sox faced off in a World Series, the importance for the Sox franchise would be visible to the players. And they would know how much it would mean to beat the Cubs in a World Series, and they would just use that. Sean's putting himself on camera.
Well, I'll say real quickly.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to, just because Jay said I'm putting myself on camera, I just want to show I have no bias and agree with Jay. I have zero bias towards the 2005 Sox and agree completely with Jay.
I think it would be a great series, but I think the fact that you look at the Cubs run, they did pull it off. They almost blew it.
They did.
And
as
the
is
Sox
tradition,
were like never sweat that playoff run. At no
Didn't
point
feel
sweat.
like it.
So I'll probably go Sox.
Yeah, they just rolled through people, man. That was that's a team of destiny. One of those. There are points in that. I think every championship season has those moments you can go back and remember that was a hint that this team was like that. That whole season was like that for the White Sox. That was a whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't care though because it's not going to happen. My team won, the Sox won. Everybody's happy.
Both teams have as many World Series as the other in the last millennium.
Good job, everybody.
And peace has been reached in Chicago.
Yeah,
I feel like things have been a lot more normal in the past 9 years, at least in Chicago.
Yes.
Alex A. Swiss is back, says, has anyone seen the BA Pro deep dive for NHL 26? Is it me or are some of the new cinematics really have a serious pitch for the game? How deep have they fallen?
Yes, Alex. The Be a Pro series has, and many of the offline series for the NHL video game over the last number of years, basically since EA caught on to the NBA 2K craze of the microtransactions and being able to monetize that, the Ultimate Team function, that's where all of the attention was put. So the offline modes were untouched, and they're very far behind. NBA 2K has had voice actors cutscenes,
Oh, those
cinematics.
voice actors are so bad.
They're terrible, but they've had them since
Yes.
at least I can remember NBA 2K11. Like, it's been a long time. So yes, it is underwhelming to be in the year 2025 for a game that's coming out in 2026 that's supposed to have, all these cinematics and cutscenes and like all this stuff. Like, yes, it's exciting because the NHL series hasn't had it, but they are woefully behind because other game series have had that for years. MLB The Show has had that for years, and it's just been neglected and untouched. So I'm excited for it, but I also recognize, holy crap, it's been 6 years of people asking for the Be a Pro series to be updated and to have these kinds of features. So now we get it.
I'm curious, like, what the spending per game is in terms of commitment from EA to build it, and I do think that
Based off of what the game generates.
exactly.
That's why
so
FIFA and
they
Madden
put a ton into FIFA and
Yeah.
Madden because they know it's going to sell. They put years into college football because they knew it's going to sell. They pay every player in the game because they knew it's going to sell.
Right.
The NHL series does not and will not receive the budget that those other ones get, so those teams have to sort of focus on. Let's be real. They have to focus on being profitable. Because if the game is not profitable, they're not going to keep making it. We've
Well,
seen.
they got
we've seen
licensing
EA pull the plug on
agreements and
NHL games in the past. They went a couple years without one. Didn't they go like?
When?
Wasn't? Oh no, they skipped consoles or something. There was some.
They didn't do. I think it was NHL. I want to say 15 came out for Xbox 360 and Xbox One at the time. And Xbox One had all the bells and whistles and the updates and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And NHL 15 for Xbox 360 was NHL 14 with the updated rosters, and that was it. Because I remember buying it and being like fuming mad.
Yeah.
Because I had 360. I didn't have Xbox One. And it was just like they released the exact same game just with a roster update.
Well, and that was the issue, too, with MLB The Show was, I mean, for years that they were making games for the PS4, not taking that next step into PS5. And I think this year, for 25, they finally did it, and it's still somehow a much worse game. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think I think with
also
the
no
NHL series,
competition.
like they focus on the microtransactions because it makes them profitable, and it sucks. And if you like playing offline, it is a tough time to be. I mean, it's like that for any game. Like the Call of Duty games are all online based. The Battlefield, like they have campaigns, but like wasn't there a Call of Duty game recently that had no campaign?
The Warzone. Warzone is its
Warzone's
own,
like Fortnite.
It's its own thing. Yeah.
But maybe it wasn't Call of Duty, but I feel like there are some of these first-person shooters that don't even have campaigns anymore because everyone's multiplayer.
Right, yeah.
So, but that's why they microtransact the hell out of you, and that's why they invented Ultimate Team for Madden and FIFA and NHL because they had to find a way to make money as the game throughout the year. And I need that 99 McDavid card. I don't want to put in the 50 hours of games I'm going to have to play to win it. So I'm going to buy some points here and go buy it.
All right.
So that's how they stay profitable.
I also wish that there was marketplace competition. They just know that they're the NHL game, so they just throw it out there.
I'm having so much fun playing 2K8. And the graphics are awful. The gameplay is great. The goalie play is real. It feels like a real-ass hockey game. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy it. All right, one more before we go. We're going to squeeze this in. NA says, if Anton Frundell turns out to be a bust, in parentheses, not a top six forward, how successful do you think the Blackhawks' future is, and what are ways in which you believe we could supplement that missing piece in the top six? I think it's a really, really early time to call Anton Frundell a bust.
If one player doesn't pan out, the rebuild is not a failure. Whether it's Frundell or Bedard or anybody else you want to throw in there, because it's a collection, it's a collective effort, and I think with the amount of darts that you've thrown at the board through the last number of drafts, you've got a base there of players that can pan out and push things forward. So if it's not Frundell, then it can be Nazar or Oliver Moore or Boisvert or whoever. Like there's a lot of other guys that you can throw into the in line there and say they can take that place.
A la Cam Barker.
Yes.
All right,
Cam Barker didn't pan out, and darn it if they didn't win 3 more cups if he had.
Yeah.
You know.
And that was a number 3 overall pick.
Right.
So, all right, we got to wrap things up. One more reminder about our new diehard promotion, the Tailgate Tier $89.99 intro offer. You get a free shirt and 2 tickets to a Bears tailgate. That's $140 value. $89.99 is the offer. Or if you just want to become a standard diehard, you can do that too. $59 for the year, includes a free t-shirt. Check out those new designs now. Go to allchgo.com/join. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2 right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.